Alright, so what is up guys, it's Zero here, and today we're doing the set 12, I think it's set 12, the set 12 tier list. So, as you can see here, there's a very small list of decks that I put here. I don't think, if the deck isn't here, I don't even think it's relevant. So there's that. So I think these are the only relevant decks left in the game in my opinion. This is for specifically tourney play. Ladder, you can honestly play any of these and you're probably fine, but specifically for tournament play. So I'll just go in order, I guess. So first we start with Dauntless Dote. I think it's an HR deck. I don't think it is. That it has too many problems, and the problems being is that it's a Kagero deck. You don't draw. You are kind of piece reliant if you're going for Dauntless and Dote at the same time. Deck is so solid. When it works, it works, but it just has too many problems in my opinion. It's missing something. That something is Calamity Tower to give the deck draw power. So yeah, it's in A tier. I think it's an A tier deck. Don't think it's too amazing, and it's like kill turns aren't like that good either compared to the other decks. They can just murk you from 3. So yeah, that's why it's here. Playable deck. If it's here, it's a playable deck. Not amazing, but it's definitely nowhere near an SRS plus. Next, we have Liberators. Yeah, but definitely behind that. Liberators, they aggro you turn 2, and if it works, you're just kind of super behind in damage. But that's basically all the deck does. Garmor is a really cool inclusion to the deck because Garmor honestly just says you win the Eradicator matchup because they can't retire anything. And if you're not at 5, Descendant can't restand. So you force them to play like vanilla Vanguard with the hit into intercepts and just do 1 damage a turn. So that's pretty good. That's honestly the main reason why it's here. It's like a anti-meta deck that also just kind of smorks your face really well with like S-Crat and Bruno scaling. But yeah, I personally love this deck, but it needs more. It needs a counter charger. It needs Valid, but we don't get that yet, so sucks to suck, I guess. Alright, next we have the deck that I've been jamming for for the past few days, Spikes. So, Spikes are definitely not A tier. They are, in my opinion, an S tier deck. I cut above these decks. So, if you know, Spikes are just. This is specifically the bad end build. With the bad end, with like Masons and everything. This deck is disgusting. This deck is basically Ethics Blau, but you have Gancelot. And you can just tutor stuff super well. So this deck is very strong. So an example is like if your opponent has 1 intercept and they're at 3 damage, if you have a Mason and you're on batting right Emperor, you can potentially check from up to 4 PGs. And yeah, and you have a Conroe. So you're guaranteed a PG, so you can play the sandbagging with your opponent if they decide to play it with you. And this deck is disgusting. And then even if you're failsafe, like where you have to ride Emperor first, the deck is still pretty solid because Emperor is still pretty good. So yeah, solid deck, very strong. I personally wouldn't put it up here just because sometimes you do end up bricking. So yeah, there is that. But yeah, the deck with a recyclable healer can't be fucking bad. Yeah, that's why it's an S tier. Next, we have Eradicators. So where am I gonna put this? Where am I putting Eradicators? I think it is an S tier deck. I don't think it belongs in S+. I think the deck has a bit too many problems. Right, a few problems that I wouldn't put up there. Do I think it's better than Bad End? I think these decks are honestly interchangeable in spot. I think these both decks are both really good. I'll just put it here for now. I think that it's generally accepted that Eradicators are a little better. I personally think that Bad End's a little bit better, but like I think this is where generally accepted. Actually, I think it's my list. We're putting it like this. It's my list. So Eradicators, obviously, they have, in my opinion, one of the best starters in the game. They have Linshu. They have stupid cards like the Gunners, which in my opinion are the best cards in Narukami. Descendant's good. You have the Vowing Descendant kill from 2 PG check from 3 play. The deck has like a bajillion ways to kill your intercepts. The deck is super strong, aggro super well, but the problem with this deck, in my opinion, is consistency. In the games where you don't see draw triggers, you just sit there and die because you cannot do shit. Same with the games where you don't draw boosters. You just sit there and die and you can't do shit. I played this deck for 3 months. Like I played this deck since on release. The games where you just don't see your triggers, your draw triggers are like super punishing. Where you literally sit there and you cannot play the game. Obviously, you still have ways to win if you like cheese your opponent crypt and stuff. But I think the fact that the deck is super reliant on draw triggers does not put it into the S+ tier. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Descendant. Or not Descendant, fucking Eradicators. Yeah. Very strong deck. Don't get me wrong, this deck is still fucking amazing. It just, in my opinion, isn't up here. Next we have Ethics Reverse. So this is like the quote unquote more like stable Ethics Blau list. I think this deck is like it's somewhere here. It's an Aether deck. Again, it's a combo piece, it's a combo reliant deck. The problem with this deck, in my opinion, is well, first off, this deck's ceiling is lower than Ethics Blau, but your floor is better because you're not riding Blau as your floor. There's that. This deck is solid. It's pretty good. High ceiling. Sitting on Crossfire base is nice too. If you don't kill them, you're still at 13k base, so it's kind of hard to kill you. You get to draw a card off the restand after. It's basically Ethics Blau, but you can't kill them as hard, but you also don't die as hard. I think that's the best way to put it. If you think Ethics Blau is good, you'll probably like this deck too. You'll probably think this deck is basically around where that is. Next, we have the deck that absolutely refuses to die, Tsukiyomi. Where do I put this? Personal bias would tell me to put it here, but it's an S tier deck. Bottom of S tier though. Bottom of S tier. So, what if, in my opinion, this deck belongs here because Seal Dragons are like nowhere to be seen anymore. Seals are like non-existent now, so your worst matchup just disappeared. Your worst matchup just disappeared. So this is why I put Suka in S tier. And like the other matchup where you think is like, and the other matchup where you would think is really bad as Link Joker is actually really manageable. I played it myself. It's actually not nearly as bad as you think it would be. Yeah, S tier deck. You know Suk. You know the deck. If you played against it, a good player on the deck, you'll know how like suffocating it is to play against this deck. But then the problem is the deck will also break. So yeah, when the deck breaks, you just lose. So if there's that, that's why I won't put it up in S+ tier. But this deck is very good. Still is good. I don't see this deck being bad ever, to be honest, unless we're Seals start running around again. But that's a different story. Yeah, so it's basically just Suk. How good Suk is depends on what else in the meta. And in the meta right now, it's basically Revengers. So. And you can deal with Revengers rather well. So yeah, that's why Suk, in my opinion, is an S tier deck. Next we have Ezzell. It is an A tier deck. It's better than Liberators. Yeah, it's about here. You know the deck. You either like it or you hate it. The deck shits out intercepts for free. Spears pop your stuff. It's a very consistent deck. It's a very consistent deck, and that's what makes it, in my opinion, a good deck. There's honestly not a whole lot to say about this deck. You either love it or you hate it. You know what it does. It's consistent, and that's what it's good at. Next, we have probably my least favorite deck on this entire list. Fucking Aqua Force and Glory Maelstrom. I think it's like here. Yeah, it's here. So obviously, Glory is cheating. Self-pings are broken. Yeah, basically that's self-pays are broken, Glory is cheating, Dia is still a good card, Dia Bats are both still pretty good cards. But the problem with this deck would be higher, but the Link Joker existing makes this before I shoot it, so yeah. It's a solid deck, but the problem is you have one matchup where you basically auto-lose it, it's fucking Link Joker. Obviously Glory can still cheese that shit, but you literally lose your gimmick before the attack because of Link Joker. So yeah, lower end of A tier in my opinion. Still a solid deck, still playable. I fucking hate this deck, but that's beside the point. Next we have Seal Dragon. I personally still think that this deck is pretty solid. I think this deck is still like top of A tier. I think this deck is better than Dauntless Dove, to be perfectly honest. Just that deck isn't very popular anymore. Seal Dragons, Corduroy, Pop Starters, all the good stuff. He also Inferno is cross-right base if you're at blockade. Yeah, then Inferno also just blows up the front row, and scales really big. It is like everything you want in Vanguard, or in Zero specifically. You blow up intercepts and you're really big, so you can hit face a bunch of times. And then base lock can still get guard because you ignore intercepts. And that's where I put it, like top of A tier deck in my opinion. Still strong, just not very popular. I'll deal with Link Joker after. I'll do MLB first. MLB is like here. Even if we add Exculpate, it still probably would be like here at best. It wouldn't go up that much. It has a cool niche against Link Joker where it sucks up your front row. There's that, I guess. But 2 crit, perma 2 crit is kind of just not as good anymore. That's the kind of the problem because the new PGs can't just hold them at 3 the entire game. But obviously, you still have Gancelot, and Gancelot's fucking stupid. Still have Blaster Blade. 12k base is still pretty good. But yeah, it's still relevant, in my opinion at least. Next we have Jewel Knights. I like to call them Dirt Knights. I think this deck is even worse than MLB now because Link Joker exists. Because Link Joker exists, they lock your back. They don't even need to, like lock your front. They lock your back for your Salamence of Vanilla now. Have fun with that. They lock what, like 2 back row, and now you're playing Vanilla deck hoping for Gancelot. Again, carried by Gancelot. Self pains are also stupid in this deck, but Link Joker existing makes you want to shoot yourself. Yeah, Jewel Knights, I think they're like the bottom of A tier in my opinion. I don't think they're like that good. I think MLB is actually better now. With Exculpate, in my opinion, definitely becomes better. But this is before Exculpate, this is set 12. Oops, I mean to do that. Yeah. And then the 2 new decks, the 2 decks everyone raves about. So Link Joker. I think Link Joker is a A tier deck. I do not think it's S tier. Where do I put it though? I think that I shit on the deck a lot, but like the deck is actually, where do I put it? It's like it's somewhere here. It's somewhere here. I think it's like here. Lock. So I'll put it like this. Lock is a broken mechanic, but the deck fucking sucks. Lock is broken, but the deck sucks. That's the best way to put it. The deck doesn't do its front row lock good enough because, obviously, for balance reasons, you can't just have the deck locking your front row every single turn. So yeah, so like Link Joker, lock is strong, the deck is not very strong. The deck also has to play a bunch of like vanilla cards pretty much, just like like the card quality is just not good enough to support the broken mechanic that is Lock. It's not terrible because Lock is still really strong. It just isn't good enough right now. Which is wait for Chaos Breaker. I'm sure that could be a lot better for that when they come out. So yeah, oh yeah, and once you burn through our Cannon Blast, you're playing Vanilla Vanguard. If they live through your like 2 turns of Lock, you literally just sit there and lose at that point. So yeah. The deck runs out of Steve too quick too. That's another problem right now. And you're also relying on draw trigger, similar to like Kagero and like Norakami. Oh look, all the Kai clans. Would you look at that? But yeah, it's like Lock is broken. The deck is not good enough. You run out of steam too fast, and once you do, you're playing Vanilla Vanguard, and your deck sucks. Yeah, that's why it's like mid range A tier. If you're gonna put this in like, if you're gonna put the grading system in like numbers instead, I guess you could do like, I guess it's a tier 0, but I don't think it's like, oh obviously it's fucking Revengers, let's put this here down. I don't think Revengers are like tier 0 levels of broken, but I do think it's like better than all these decks by like a considerable degree. I guess you could do like tier 0, tier 1, tier 2, or like tier 1, 1.5, tier 2. I guess you do it like that, but I don't really want to do 1.5, so that's why we have letter grading instead. So to nobody's surprise, it was the last deck, so obviously it goes here because there's a whole tier here. It's Revengers. So I think the best way to put Revengers is that it is Eradicators, but you are consistent. You don't rely on draw triggers, but you get the consistency of something like MLB. Sounds pretty broken, doesn't it? Because it is. This deck is overtuned beyond imagine. Like, Tar 2 being CB1 is not okay. Raging Formula to make copies of itself is not okay. Dorant Blaster Dark is stupid, but like that didn't really get buffed. It just happened to be like that. And then Mordred being free is also the nuts. Like this deck just has everything. So you have you have plussing, you have cheap pluses, you have a restanding Vanguard, you have crit if you want with Earman, you have cheap retire, you have the main for draw power. This deck just has absolutely everything. This deck just has absolutely everything. So that's the reason why I think this deck is like a cut above these decks. The only thing that this deck is missing is like a recyclable heal. But if this deck got that, it would be like without a doubt the best deck. It would be like up here. It would be like off the charts if it had a recyclable heal too. So yeah, this is my opinion of the current Untitled meta. Y'all can let me know how you feel about this in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, I guess. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.